Friends, welcome to another podcast of E2 Effective Elders. Today, we're going to be focused upon how do we equip, train more effectively the existing elder team.
Hey everyone, welcome to the E2 Effective Elders podcast. Visit us at e2elders.org and please share this good word with others.
Hey, welcome back, friends, to another podcast of E2 Effective Elders, and our thanks, as always, to CDF Capital for their partnership in ministry. For many years, CDF has been investing in elders, literally across the country and around the world, making it possible for us to share small, brief moments like this with you. And today, I want to welcome here on site two very good friends, Mike Jordan and Pete Brown. Both are elders at Ben Davis Christian Church here in Indianapolis. Brothers, welcome.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, appreciate it. Well, it's an honor to be here.
Well, and it's an honor to sit with you. And by the way, just a little backstory here. We're at the studios of ash-interactive.com. And Pete Brown is the founder and the executive director of Ash Interactive. When we were working together, E2 is in partnership with Ben Davis Christian Church. Just during a break, I said, "Hey, Pete, what do you do for a living?" Yeah. And so Pete told me the story, and long story made short, E2 is working very closely with Ash Interactive for videography purposes, for social media, and much more. And Pete has helped many of our partner churches in return. I know that people have connected with you.
Absolutely. So. It's been a great relationship for us at church as well as for the business, and we're excited to push out E2's new website soon, too. So we're excited about that.
Just days and counting.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah. And Mike also is a leader. He is the president of a steel fabricating firm here in Indianapolis. He's worked with them for more than 24 years, and so Mike knows very well what it means to lead. So let's set the stage a little bit. In our weekly podcasts, we keep focusing upon the 6 challenges that are facing elders, literally across the country. Doesn't matter where we are. So if you've listened to this, ELDERS, elders. And there are 6 challenges. What we're going to do today, in these few moments, we're going to go to ELDE, equipping the existing elder team. And that's very important at Ben Davis.
It's unbelievably important. And even since our relationship with E2 started, we didn't realize sort of what we didn't know until we started working with E2, I think. I mean, I think a lot of the formative kind of meetings with you and your team and exploring some of the content you guys have put together, all the books and so forth, it really helped us immediately just go, wow, we didn't know what we didn't know,
Sure. And I would agree, we've been very fortunate and blessed that at Ben Davis Christian Church, how well and how much God works within our church.
Yes.
And, as elders, we've kind of expected that, but yet as we become better at being elders, we can now assist better and be more effective with God in that effort that's going on in our church right now. So we're thankful for helping equip us. We're thankful for what E2 is clarified for us, and we're excited about the continued relationship that we have with you guys.
Why don't you, the two of you, talk a little bit about the how? You just mentioned how important it is.
Sure.
How do you equip your elder team?
Do you want to run with that, or should I kick it off?
I'll let you start.
All right. Well, I want to put an asterisk here, and we talked about this a little bit before we started filming, but I don't think we're alone in this, but I'm sure there's a lot of folks watching that have felt a little bit railroaded, sidelined by COVID. And so I want to make sure that everybody at home realizes that the things we're talking about, we don't feel like we're the pinnacle of elder example, right? But I do want to acknowledge that we are trying. Our team is growing. We're learning so much from the E2 team. And so, Mike and I were kind of kicking these questions around, and we talked about in the past some of the different things we've done to kind of equip each other. The couple that I've been involved in, just as one of the younger elders on the team, are things like just different retreats, going to men's conferences, things like tuning in to E2 conferences and
That are virtual.
Yeah, exactly. That are virtual. Even during COVID, we've been able to learn that way, and of course, benefiting from all the different publications and things. I brought my Elders Playbook with me, not just as a shameless plug, but because one of the things that we're trying to do is keep each other accountable. Because I feel like it's been really easy to sort of disappear into COVID and into our own situations. Sure. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I would agree. I've taken the approach that, I lead by example. I like to do the things that I want other people to mirror or emulate. And as an elder, I've done the same thing. If we want people to volunteer, we volunteer. We want people to serve, we serve. We want people to equip, we try to equip each other. But what happens is sometimes that's a hands-off approach. That's not always as personal as it can be. And, one of the things that we have to continue to get better at is just being there for each other, making sure that we hold each other accountable, make sure we have clear agendas, and make sure that we're always continuing to work. I like to put everything in sports analogies. So as an elder or as a professional athlete, for example, they train their bodies every single day. They get together as a team and they work for months and weeks on ends to prepare for a game or for a challenge. And as elders, we need to be doing the same thing because at some point we're going to be asked to perform or to carry out a task or be ready and prepared. And if we're not equipping ourselves the best we can in between times, we're going to miss that opportunity or we're going to not be as effective as we possibly could be.
Yeah, that's a very powerful analogy. And, when you started talking about a team or an athlete, just like with the Olympics coming up, they train for years to get ready for what might be a 60-second competition before they can advance to the next level. And staying constantly in training as elders would be of great importance. Now, Mike, you made mention just now of a very key word, and that word is we hold each other accountable. That word, accountable, many people do not like to hear. And before we explore that, I want you two to think about how you hold each other accountable. Remember, in Scripture, we find accountability woven into the written word again and again. Accountability is a good thing. When Paul and Barnabas in Acts 15 went back to Jerusalem, they were serving in Antioch, and then they went back to Jerusalem to meet with the apostles and elders. Verse 4, chapter 15 of Acts, they reported everything that they had been doing to the apostles and elders. That's a spirit of accountability. Even Job, when Satan appears in the presence of God, and God says to Satan, "Where you been, boy? What you been up to?" God was holding him accountable. So accountability is not a bad thing. It's good. It's very good. So how can elders hold one another accountable?
That's a great question, and I think one that we constantly wrestle with, to be honest. I mean, there's discomfort in accountability, right? And I think if it's something that we can kind of push off or brush off or ignore, that makes things feel a little comfortable. But one of the things that, again, going here, what's play one in the Elders Playbook? Assessment and accountability of elders. And we started this thing recently where, because we haven't been able to gather as much as we'd like, we're doing an email-based play of the week out of the Elders Playbook.
Hey, great.
And so when this one came up, it was a really good point of discussion because it gave us a chance to sort of be uncomfortable via email, which I think for a lot of guys can be a little more, I don't know. I like face-to-face, but for other people, sometimes it comes across a little bit less confrontational if you're talking about it.
Okay, and I want to explore that in just a moment. Did you want to add to this accountability?
Yeah, I think from accountability standpoint, I know personally I work better when I know somebody is going to call me out on it if I'm not doing a good job. Or I'm inspired because I know somebody else is also going through the same challenge that I'm going through. So from a friendship level, as from a spiritual level, and from our brother in Christ and as an elder with Pete, I know him and we get together probably more regularly than we do as an elder group. But in the same way, we do hold each other accountable. I try to be a better person. I try to make sure that, the things that's going on in my life, I'm sharing with Pete, same thing he does with me. And I think as elders, we could probably do a better job of that. I think we do an excellent job when we get together. The first thing we always do is focus on what's going on in each other's lives.
Cool.
Yeah.
And probably the follow-up is something we could do better at, but we certainly make that a priority in the beginning. So
Awesome. That's very, very good. Now I want to explore what you just said.
Sure.
What Pete just made mention of was in this Elders Playbook, do every one of the elders on the Ben Davis team have one of these?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep,
so did you hear that? Every elder has one of these on their elder team. This book is different than all the other books that we've done. This is something to be on a shelf, and we pull it off from the shelf like a Bible dictionary. It is a resource book. It's not something to be read chapter by chapter. In it, there are over 50 plays, articles, all in alphabetical order, A for assessment and accountability. And an article has about 700 to 1,400 words. Like in a playbook of a football player, there's a place to write notes. And we would encourage you to get one of these, every elder on every elder team, as a resource tool. There's an issue about church discipline. You look up the article on church discipline and you email the guys, hey, read the article on church discipline. We've got to talk about that this week, unfortunately, at our meeting. Now, what I really liked about your statement, Pete, was a play of the week.
51 plays, 52. Take a week off.
Take a week of Christmas. Take Christmas off.
Yeah. But other than that, and I think that piggybacks on what Mike was talking about, and you as well with the Olympics, but thankfully, we haven't had a major church discipline issue quite yet, at least in my tenure. But sure would be smart to know a little bit about it, before we walk into it. And again, 2 pages to 3 pages. I was like, guys, we can do this. 2 or 3 pages. It'll take you 10 minutes. Respond with your thoughts. We'll follow up at the elder meeting and deep dive into any areas of murkiness or conflict. But let's keep thinking about
what a
these
great
things.
way to be thinking about equipping elders.
Yeah.
Simple way to do that. All right, now here's another question. You've heard me say sometime that phrase, preferred future. I remember before COVID happened, I was with you at Ben Davis in a meeting.
That day.
It was exactly 1 year from today. It was March
Really?
11th, 2020. We actually had that meeting. I looked it up on my phone, the pictures that we took and the words that we wrote on the board that we wanted to look like a year from now.
Yeah.
It was exactly a year from today.
Incredible. All right, so what we're talking about, and we'll unpack this in just a moment, what you could consider doing is what we call a preferred future exercise. And let's just talk about that a little bit now. So on a whiteboard, what did we put on that whiteboard?
On the whiteboard, we started out talking about what do we want to look like as elders a year from now. I'll throw out some words, one particular word that describe what we want to look like. And then if it needed additional explanation, if you had a suggestion we put on the board, we would break that down. But we wrote down 4 or 5 things, and then we do the same thing as a church. What do we want to look like as a church a year from now? And then we'd unpack what each word meant. And that's really as far as we got prior to COVID. But I looked at those the other day, and it's amazing how, again, God continues to work within our church despite what we may or may not be doing or COVID happening. Some of those things are being accomplished. Some of those things, we look bolder. We have bigger vision. We have, we are more accountable for each other. We're doing some of the things that we put on the board a year ago with not as much effort as we should have been putting into it, but it's still important to put it up there because I think subconsciously we've all been working in that direction.
Yeah.
So,
the sports analogy again. So if we have this athlete who's going to be competing, let's even say on an international stage, he or she knows what they need to look like, act like, perform like a year from now. So that there's their preferred future, a certain time or a certain strength, being able to lift so many pounds, whatever. And they then go on this journey to become this over a 12-month period. And that's the same premise of preferred future. And to equip an elder team, we have to think, what do we want to look like 12 years from now? So now that was phenomenal. A year ago today, March the 11th. What are you going to do then at your next meeting? Are you going to bring this up again and just... here's a picture of the board, what was written on that whiteboard, and just review, even in spite of COVID, look at what the Holy Spirit has enabled us to pursue.
No, I think that's a great idea. I think it should totally be a part of it. And I've got a smaller committee meeting tonight, so I'll bring it up. But, I think it's great. And I think I want to be intentional about not using the pandemic as an excuse.
Yes.
I'm sort of... that's everybody's excuse for everything, right now. And I feel like we've had a great opportunity in some ways to shut down a lot of the hustle and bustle that we normally have as an excuse to where we can really focus and define some things. And we still have some of that time left. I mean, vaccines are out, we're starting to reopen, but really there's still going to be, I think, maybe another quarter or 6 months or something of this kind of transition back, and I want to make sure we don't waste it. You know, so I think getting those words out and bouncing off of, plus we've been talking about the new vision, and so there's probably a lot of really good synergy that can go on there.
I think going back and reflecting on those words we put out a year ago and just saying, all right, what does God still continue to speak to us today? You know, where is he really making strides? Where have we made some ground? And, you know, you constantly got to reevaluate that because we look different than we did a year ago.
Yes.
COVID has caused all of us to refocus a little bit. But some of those principles still pertain to today. And I think we should continue to listen and follow that direction that God's given us a year ago. Despite, you know, it's not a chance to start over. It's to refocus and re-equip and regroup.
You know, Ben Davis Christian Church has had a wonderful impact in Indianapolis. You're well over 100 years old as a church, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Same location. You're invested in community right there. I would tend to think, and you've always had good elders. What is interesting, I think, that now your elder team is just thinking a little differently, more strategically, and I just want to commend you. There are many elder teams, sometimes called an elder board or an eldership, and they don't give consideration to the importance of equipping their team. Thinking back over, let's say, the last 2 years, what words would you use to describe your elder team now as compared to perhaps 2 or 3 years ago?
I think one of the things that comes to mind for me is just more purposeful. And I think before, you know, we get into this mode of managing the church. You know, when the church is thriving or we're doing something well, we tend to go into neutral sometimes and just manage the church. Well, I think now we're more purposeful in where we're directing the church and where God is leading it. And we take strides to try to improve. That's the other thing, too. But there's always room for improvement in every organization, especially in churches as well, from staff to programs to, you know, how you manage things behind the scenes at a church. There's always room for improvement. And if we're not continuing to strive towards that, I think we're losing opportunity there. So I think we're much more purposeful in what we're doing now.
I was Yeah, the words equipped and teachable come to mind. You know,
Absolutely.
I think that's another thing that we've grown again through our partnership with E2 is that, again, now we know what we should be doing biblically. We know what we should be doing. There are literal books written about it that we can read and we have access to, and all the free resources. And of course, you know, having access to you and the team throughout the year. Now we know what we should be doing. We know where to find the answers. We know where to explore these questions, and we are open to that now. So, I mean, I think that's a big thing too, even in 2 years.
Yeah, I think the purposeful part is what Pete said is the clarity now that we currently have. It makes us more effective on that. So, E2 has certainly helped clarify a lot of. You know, you can get lost in the weeds sometimes when you don't have a clear path or you're not sure on how to equip or to develop or recruit new elders, how to lead properly, what our responsibilities are. And E2 has certainly clarified that for us. And it's been, you know, I think I said, we're more purposeful now because we're not getting bogged down by the things that aren't important, but things that we should have been focusing on sometimes.
Well, we really appreciate the partnership with Ben Davis. I can remember a conversation I had with Ryan, your lead minister, just a few months ago. I was able to be on your campus to preach on a weekend, and Ryan told me that E2 was moved out of a leadership category in your budget to a partnership mission category because as a church you see the value of us as a partner, and we really are a mission. We're equipping leaders across the country, And if leaders can become all the more effective, then the church becomes all the more healthy and a greater threat to the kingdom of darkness. So we are grateful for the partnership with Ben Davis in a huge way. Would you guys be open to, if somebody wants to email you with a question about what you shared today, that they could do that?
Oh, definitely.
absolutely.
All right. So, Pete, what is your email address?
Sure. My email address is peteb@ash-interactive.com, and we'll put the overlays as well.
Yeah, great. And Mike?
So mine is Michael, Michael, letter J, @indianasteelfab.com.
Great. Very good. Well, brothers, thank you for leading well. Thank you for your love for the bride, the Church of Jesus, that you shepherd, and you're doing it well. And we join with you in this whole pursuit of making sure that the bride is at her best. Lead well.